My sister, brother, and I used to go camping and pretend we were stranded with only our animals for company. Those moments would take us into a whole different world of imagination. Wimbledon has always been about more than tennis for the royal family. For decades, it's been a stage not just for athletes chasing victory, but also for royals showing unity, grace, and control. Each year, the cameras linger longer on the royal box than on the tennis matches. But amid the carefully managed setting of elegant attire and perfectly timed smiles, one absence sent shockwaves through the monarchy. Camilla wasn't late, avoiding the press, or unwell. She was banned. When the Duchess of Cornwall skipped Wimbledon this year, rumors spread fast among London's elite. Camilla had long been a regular at the event, laughing with King Charles, exchanging polite words with Catherine, even nervously cheering when Meghan Markle first appeared. But this year, she was gone. Her seat stood empty, her name missing from the programs, her presence erased. At first, the palace tried to downplay it. Insiders doubted the vague scheduling conflicts and private commitments. Then, when Prince William and Catherine appeared hand in hand, stronger and closer than they'd been in months, it was clear something big had happened behind the scenes. Reports say the Duchess crossed a line, not just politically or publicly, but personally with Catherine. What started as a quiet feud exploded into a harsh, heated argument behind royal doors, leaving William no choice. The result? Camilla's Wimbledon invitation was revoked, not by the king, but by William. That move, subtle yet powerful, was more than a snub. It was a clear message. The future queen would be fiercely protected. Princess Diana's legacy wouldn't be pushed aside anymore. William was done playing nice. Camilla has spent decades balancing public scrutiny with privacy. From the other woman to queen consort, she's faced jeers, tabloid attacks, and cold shoulders. But now, the tide may be turning against her, from within the royal family itself. This was the story the monarchy hoped would stay quiet, yet truth always finds a way. When cameras caught Catherine's calm smile in the empty seat beside her, the world saw that something dramatic and permanent had changed. Let's take you inside the royal family's latest conflict, a clash of pride, power, and pain unfolding just before Wimbledon's first serve. To most people, the royal family seems like a smooth-running machine, steeped in tradition, polished in appearance, and united in ceremony. But the smiles seen from Buckingham Palace balconies often hide what cameras don't show. Behind closed curtains, long silences at dinners, and glances barely meeting in gilded hallways, Camilla and Catherine's Cold War simmered in the months before Wimbledon. This tension didn't appear overnight. Some insiders say it's been brewing since William and Catherine married. Camilla, now queen consort, never liked playing second fiddle, not to Diana, not to Kate, or to the public's adoration of the young Wales family. She's always carried a chip on her shoulder. One former royal assistant said Camilla fought for acceptance, but just when she thought she had it, Catherine arrived, the graceful commoner who seemed flawless. At first, the tension was subtle. Camilla might interrupt Kate mid-conversation or position herself to block her view during group photos. At a charity dinner last year, a lip reader caught Camilla whispering, "Let her have her moment again," as Catherine received a standing ovation for her mental health work. More incidents followed, none big enough for headlines but enough to show a pattern. Known for her grace under pressure, the Princess of Wales started withdrawing to smaller groups. Those close to her noticed a change. She was quieter, more guarded. When Camilla was near, she measured her words carefully. The breaking point came after Queen Elizabeth II died. With Charles on the throne, court dynamics shifted rapidly. Camilla rose in rank, now standing beside the monarch. Many expected Catherine would naturally step into a bigger role. Instead, she found herself increasingly sidelined, not by the public, who adored her, but by courtiers whispering behind closed doors. Reports surfaced that Camilla tried to redefine who counts as senior royals. She apparently blocked Catherine from certain Privy Council meetings, saying she wasn't needed for state matters. One advisor claimed Camilla said sharply in a private meeting, "Being married to the heir doesn't mean you get the crown overnight." William was furious. A palace source said William confronted his father, who deflected, telling him, "You can't change the past, William. We all need to move forward." But William wasn't just defending his wife. He was protecting his mother's legacy, because at the heart of this royal storm is a ghost that still haunts the monarchy. Diana Catherine has often been compared to Diana for her grace, kindness, and commitment to service. Camilla feels the comparisons more than she admits. A royal biographer once revealed that Camilla privately confessed, "I spent decades building my image, and now it feels like I'm being erased by a memory and a dress code." At last year's Trooping the Color, the tension between Camilla and Catherine was obvious as the family waved from the balcony. Onlookers noticed Camilla barely paying attention to Catherine and her children. When Charlotte tried to show her a simple drawing made for the Queen's tribute, Camilla supposedly glanced at it, gave a stiff smile, and passed it to a staff member without a word. Behind that brief cold moment was a deeper reality that Catherine later shared with a close friend. "I don't feel safe with her anymore. Not just for me, but for the kids." The anxiety seen from the balcony had spilled into real life. Though the palace kept a calm front, cracks were forming within the royal family. It was no longer a question of if there would be a confrontation, but when. The incident leading to Camilla's sudden exit from Wimbledon happened out of public view, not on a red carpet or balcony, but behind closed doors at Clarence House, where royal tensions finally boiled over. The meeting was meant to be a peace talk. According to sources, senior staff from both households pushed for it after months of strained relations between the Princess of Wales and Queen Camilla. With Wimbledon and upcoming public appearances on the horizon, there was hope they might clear the air before things got worse. But what started as a calm discussion quickly turned sour. Catherine arrived composed and with detailed notes. She wasn't looking for conflict, just clarity. She mentioned awkward silences at events, unexpected absences from important briefings, and, most painfully, the hurt of having her children brushed aside. "I just want us to support each other," she said, "for the sake of our family and the crown." Camilla's response shocked everyone. She scoffed. "Support goes both ways, sweetheart. You're not the only one who will wear a crown someday," she whispered coldly. That kicked off a verbal spiral no one could control. Camilla accused Catherine of deceiving the public, implying her popularity was staged and her image too perfect to be real. She also said William was too emotional and influenced by a wife who knows how to grab headlines. Terrified, Catherine tried to leave, but Camilla wasn't finished. In what a royal aide called a venomous moment, Camilla said, "You may have married the heir, but remember, I fought to be here. You were chosen for convenience." The room fell silent. Prince William, nearby, overheard everything. According to two sources, he had arrived early to escort Catherine home, but paused when he heard raised voices. That's when he heard Camilla's final words. Without a word, William entered, went straight to his wife, and gently placed his hand on her back. Catherine's eyes welled with tears, but she said nothing. William spoke instead, stern and steady. "This ends now." That night, everything changed. William instructed his private secretary to remove Camilla's name from the Wimbledon protocol. No photo ops, no handshake cues, no royal box. For the first time in decades, the Queen Consort wouldn't attend one of the royal calendar's most prominent events. The message was clear and unmistakable. Unlike gossip columns or the palace's carefully crafted statements, this message could not be softened or undone. It was swift, uncompromising, and personal. William wasn't just defending Catherine, he was drawing a line in the sand. The world was about to see what happens when that line goes public. For outsiders, the drama unfolded quietly. Wimbledon, Britain's premier sporting event was underway as usual. The royal box brimmed with dignitaries and celebrities. Cameras panned across the crowd, pausing respectfully to greet Prince William and Princess Catherine. Catherine wore a soft mint green dress, her hair pulled back into a neat bun, her smile controlled yet radiant. But the real story wasn't who was there, it was who wasn't. Camilla. Her usual front-row seat sat empty. The place card was quietly removed. Her name was nowhere in the program. Event hosts neither mentioned nor acknowledged her. It was as if the Queen Consort had vanished from the event entirely. The media quickly noticed. The Daily Mail ran a headline hinting at something more than a simple absence. Social media buzzed with questions. Why isn't Camilla at Wimbledon? Is there a royal snub? Did Kate and Camilla fall out? Then the leak came. 2 royal reporters revealed that a senior Kensington Palace official confirmed Camilla's invitation was withdrawn at Prince William's order. It was a direct result of the breakdown between the 2 households. Nothing more, nothing less. The story spread like wildfire. Hashtags like #Wimbledon snub, #Queen V's princess, and #Team Kate trended. The palace said nothing, fueling speculation further. Catherine's early arrival at Center Court, without Charles or Camilla, and her entrance with Princess Charlotte by her side, only added to the talk. The mother-daughter pair looked radiant, smiling and waving to supporters. For many, it was more than a sweet moment. It was a statement. Even usually reserved, William showed warmth, placing his hand on Catherine's back as they walked, whispering something that made her laugh. When seated, they leaned in slightly, a quiet but unmistakable display of unity. A royal body language expert told The Telegraph, "We saw togetherness and public solidarity." Catherine was protected not just by the institution, but by her husband. Camilla, furious when she returned to Clarence House, expected the dispute to stay behind palace walls. She didn't think William would go as far as pulling her from a major royal event. But he did, and the public cheered. Comments flooded in beneath royal stories. She deserves peace. Good for William standing up for his wife. Diana would be proud. Camilla lost far more than just a match. This was a public defeat. Even worse, Camilla had been outmaneuvered not by the press or the public, but by the very people she had underestimated, William and Catherine. While Wimbledon was about tennis that day, a different kind of match was unfolding in the royal box. For the first time in decades, the Queen Consort lost. Anyone who thought Camilla's absence would go unnoticed within the palace seriously underestimated how quickly royal power corridors can become battlegrounds. When King Charles found out, not through an official briefing but via a flood of breaking news, that his wife had been deliberately uninvited by his own son, he reportedly lost his composure. A source said he was furious. It wasn't just a breach of protocol. William hadn't consulted him. Charles felt blindsided. To him, Wimbledon was more than a royal outing. It was a soft power event, a tradition, and a chance to show a united monarchy. Camilla's public ban, especially over what he saw as a private family dispute, struck him as reckless and insubordinate. Charles supposedly slammed his fist on the table during an emergency meeting at Sandringham, yelling, "He's acting like his mother, emotional, impulsive, and playing to the crowd." Several aides were unhappy with his comment. When William heard, it only widened the rift. For William, this wasn't about protocol. It was about respect and protecting the woman who has endured gossip, comparisons, and subtle attacks while carrying the monarchy's future. And now, his father, the man who had witnessed Diana's suffering in silence, was calling his choice emotional. William is said to have replied, "If standing up for my wife makes me like my mother, I'll take that as a compliment." The palace quickly divided into factions. Team Charles and Camilla, supported by Princess Anne and a small group of seasoned courtiers, believed the monarchy couldn't survive such a public split. They insisted disputes should stay behind closed doors and accused William of damaging royal unity. On the other side, younger staff and public-facing advisors rallied behind William and Catherine. They saw Wimbledon's snub not as rebellion, but as strong leadership. William didn't start a scandal, one aide said. He ended one. Anne, never one to hold back, reportedly confronted William during a family dinner. "You've embarrassed the crown," she said. "You've made Camilla look like the victim in the media." William didn't back down. "She did that to herself," he replied. "And if she ever speaks to Catherine or my kids like that again, Wimbledon will be the least of her worries." By then, Catherine had withdrawn from the conflict. She kept up with public duties, smiled for cameras, and stayed silent. But those close to her knew it had taken its toll. A source close to the princess said she was quiet but determined. She didn't want conflict, but she wouldn't be crushed either. Meanwhile, Camilla retreated into what insiders described as a sulking silence. She canceled many scheduled appearances, citing fatigue. But the message was clear. She was angry, humiliated, and waiting for an apology that would never come. Public sympathy shifted dramatically. In previous royal crises, Charles and Camilla were often portrayed as victims of media cruelty. This time, the narrative flipped. Social media rallied behind Catherine. Headlines praised William's protective instincts. Even neutral commentators began questioning Camilla's role in the modern monarchy. Within days, one thing was clear. This was no mere family dispute. It was a power shift. The future king made it obvious whose side he was on and what kind of monarchy he intended to lead. While the royal family's inner walls shook with conflict, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stayed poised, silent, graceful, and resolute. In her quiet strength, she spoke louder than any press release or statement could. Dignity. Catherine never responded to the rumors swirling around her. Not in interviews, not in carefully staged photos. She didn't have to. The public had seen enough. Enough snubs, enough chilly glances, enough side-by-side comparisons of a woman accepting grace and another clutching power with bitterness. As Camilla reportedly brooded behind palace walls, Catherine returned to Wimbledon the next day with Princess Charlotte. The pair were seen cheering and laughing courtside, with Charlotte wearing a tiny version of her mother's mint green dress. The message was unmistakable. The monarchy's future would be built on example, not grudges, and the public noticed. Social media exploded with support. #Team Kate, #Protect the Princess, #Diana, would be proud. Comment sections overflowed with praise. Catherine carries herself with the same quiet strength Diana had, only wiser. She's faced so much and never stooped to their level. True royalty doesn't need to shout, it moves with grace. Even the media, usually cautious about royal coverage, took notice. The Times ran an op-ed titled, "In the Absence of Words, the Princess Speaks Loudest," commending Catherine for restoring dignity to a family torn by scandal. Palace insiders confirmed what many already suspected. William and Catherine's team was purposely avoiding retaliation or spinning the story. There would be no official statements, no anonymous sources. There were no leaks. Why? Because they didn't need to defend themselves. The public did that for them. Meanwhile, something even bigger was happening quietly. Catherine's image began to shift, not just as the future queen consort, but as the moral compass of the monarchy. She's long been admired for her style, parenting, and steadfast dedication to the institution. But this moment revealed something deeper. It showed she was more than just a royal figurehead or devoted wife. She could endure personal attacks, palace politics, and public pressure, and rise above it all with grace. A veteran royal reporter said, "This wasn't a controversy Catherine sought. She turned it into a defining moment for herself and the crown." William's decision to act decisively to defend his wife only boosted public admiration. Many compared his response to the protection Diana never received from Charles. Even some royal critics applauded. One tweet went viral. "I'm no royalist, but if you're going to have a monarchy, let it be led by people who protect each other like this." Camilla's silence after Wimbledon worked against her. Without a counterstory, her absence felt like an admission, and the woman once seen as resilient in the face of public judgment was now being recast as the source of old palace wounds. In the end, Catherine didn't need to win over the public. She already had them. Her calm persistence and steady grace showed she wasn't just surviving the royal machine, but quietly mastering it. With every step, another shadow from the past faded away. Wimbledon was just a tennis tournament. But this year, it became a stage for something far more revealing, a quiet reckoning within the royal family. One empty seat spoke louder than 1,000 headlines, and the world paid attention. Camilla's absence wasn't an accident. It was a choice. A line was drawn, not by tradition or advisors, but by the future king himself. For William, this was about more than image. It was about loyalty, about standing by the woman who had carried herself with dignity despite the cold tensions of a complicated family. It was a clear message. Catherine would not be pushed aside. Not now. Not ever. Catherine faced the storm with grace. She said nothing, offered no response, yet emerged stronger than ever. In the court of public opinion, her silence became her crown. For Charles and Camilla, it was a harsh wake-up call. The old power dynamics are shifting. The younger generation is no longer willing to stay silent, especially when the damage runs deep. The family is fractured. The world is watching. Beneath the formal smiles and photo ops, the battle for the monarchy's future is already underway. One thing is clear. This wasn't just about Wimbledon. It was about who belongs in the royal box, and who no longer does.